January 21st, 2024. Well, I guess the big event we've all been waiting for has now occurred. Trump is now the 47th president, inaugurated, and has been busily signing executive orders all day to fix a lot of the problems that was created by the previous administration. In fact, in a lot of ways, this is just sort of an undo operation on the last administration as much as it can be undone. Of course, some of the damage is probably irretrievable, but nonetheless, a big start nonetheless. And well, one thing, some of you might be wondering why I'm wearing this hat tonight. Well, as Melania, was wearing a hat all during the day at the festivities until it got to the balls in the evening. And so, and then I have some person, one of the few people that had commented on my YouTube channel and in months gone by said, why don't you do something different, like wear a hat? Well, I thought, well, the two together came together, and it's kind of a festive occasion, so I thought I'd wear a hat. So there you go. For better or worse, you can comment and say what you think about this. It probably won't be the norm. At any rate, the man is now in office, and it took a bunch of executive actions, one of which is very interesting. He actually did pardon something on the order of 1,500 people involved in the January 6, 2020 riot, and commuted the sentences of 14 people who were charged with more serious crimes in the issue. It's an interesting question, there's been a lot of debate about this. I've generally am positive about the idea of certainly pardoning the people that simply walked into the Capitol building. I mean, some of them were actually ushered in, and a lot of people were damaged very seriously with the overreaction to some of it. Although there are also some serious offenses involved, and I guess that's why the 14 are only getting commutations. And that could be questioned about a lot of things. But another thing to remember on that is that all the rioting that was created with the George Floyd incident by the left, the bulk of those people got off pretty easy, and the people that were attacking the courthouse in Seattle, I think they all were let off the hook by the Biden administration. And then Biden has went on a rampage and and pardoned all kinds of people, thousands, probably more than Trump has totally in this event. And not only that, but he actually pardoned his family, because obviously the statement, the comment, the Biden crime family probably wasn't wrong. Apparently they were, and I think this kind of shows that that they really were worried about something. And I guess he's betting that they won't go after him personally because, well, it would be kind of Trump himself made similar comments about not going after Hillary Clinton, even though she clearly committed some crimes too, as we well know, in the security area. So at any rate, that's kind of that. It's a festive day for at least the Republicans, and perhaps not as much for the Democrats. So at any rate, if you like these videos, please give me a like, subscribe, and click the bell for notifications. Or you can find me on Rumble, the address in the description below. Yeah, so that's kind of that, I guess, on that. On the other hand, there's a lot of economic talk going on, and I'm kind of wondering how this is going to affect the markets here in the days ahead. This random talk about varying numbers of tariffs against varying countries has got to be a little unstabling to the market. On the other hand, there are some good things. Apparently, they're going to try to reduce the number of IRS agents or something, quit hiring them or whatever, and maybe transfer them to some other jobs. And the new ones that were hired, I'm not sure what's going to really come of that. There's this whole tax on tips thing. I don't know. That's got to be part of the legislation that's going to be coming up here in the reconciliation bills, which hopefully we will get passed. And, this is, kind of an interesting situation. I think I did notice in the discussion there that he had at the little press conference and signing ceremony in the White House, they seems to still be somewhat misinformed at the level of casualties that the Russians have taken in the Ukraine war, and seems to think that they're faring worse than the Ukrainians, which probably means the intelligence community is feeding them this information, which is based largely on Ukrainian comments, which are probably propaganda. So at any rate, I hope he gets the straight scoop on that pretty soon, and because otherwise we could be making some more mistakes in this whole thing. On other issues, I don't. He does make an interesting comment on the tariffs that the European Union has a value-added tax that's something on the order of approximately 20%. I think it's actually 19 point something, but I'm not sure. In that range, and he's arguing that effectively is similar to a 20% tariff himself, and yet it's not considered. It's buried in the price of everything over there, rather than actually a tariff as such. So the buyers are still paying it, and that's the point he's making. So that's so we'll just have to see what he really does. I mean, is this going to be more strategic and thought out, or is it going to be more across the board? I mean, I'm definitely for tariffs to protect industries that are clearly essential to our national security and having a vigorous economy. I mean, for instance, if somebody were to actually undercut us to where like all of our steel mills would go out of action, that would be a disaster, right? Not be able to make any steel domestically and be dependent on shipping it overseas or things like that. That'd be bad. So that'd be an example, and other issues. And also, you have to look at countries that have relatively low wages, and we want to deter companies from literally closing the plant in the United States and then putting it in a foreign country at a much lower, cheaper labor and putting Americans out of work. I think that sort of thing should be discouraged also. But on the other hand, I've had an ongoing beef with this attack on Canada stuff, as I'm calling it. I don't see that at all. Yes, there are illegal immigrants that come in from Canada, I'm sure. And yes, since Canada is largely a supplier of natural resources, naturally we're buying resources which we then use in our industries to manufacture products here in America. And what's so bad about that? I mean, it's not like this is a country which is really threatening us. It's an ally. These resources are not being shipped overseas and therefore being vulnerable to interdiction by submarine warfare, something like that in a conflict. So I'm like, well, and as far as illegal immigrants, we have a lot of illegal immigrants that simply fly into the country and take courses of study in our colleges, and then some of them just never go home. I mean, I've run into that myself in my life, and I've seen people like you'll find a waitress in an Asian restaurant and find out that this individual lady has like a master's degree in something and didn't go home. Well, why didn't she? Well, she just overstayed her visa, obviously, and she was looking for somebody to marry. And I was probably too old for interest, by the way. She wasn't interested in me, but I'm just saying. But she did tell me about various guys that she was dating who were American citizens, and I thought that was kind of interesting. But obviously, that was the objective, was to get married to an American citizen and get in that way. And I'm just saying, but this does occur. I'm just saying. So I doubt there's more people coming in from Canada than are coming in that way. But we'll see what he works out. I don't think Canada's on the 51st state or anything of that sort. And I've talked about that before. But we're all kind of happy here to see him in there and at the inaugural balls and everything. And things are going good. And we'll just see what pans out. It looks like we've already got our first appointment through. And confirmed, and I guess the Lake and Riley Act also has been passed, and so he can sign that whenever they get it to him in a day or so. So that's great. That'll help with the immigration issue. Or some of the other appointments may be a little more difficult to get through, but we'll see how that goes. I mean, I think eventually we'll get most, if not all of them, through. He's kind of on a roll on that. And I understand that immigration raids are going to start tomorrow or something like that, maybe. So we'll see how, and I guess this bill, the Lake and Riley Act, will be very helpful actually in, facilitating his deportation program. And of course, that itself has a few issues coming up too. Is exactly who's going to be deported and who isn't going to be. I mean, first of all, it's too big of a task to deport all illegal immigrants in this country. I mean, there are probably, 30 million of them? Something like that. I mean, I'm just guessing. I mean, there was over 10 million got in one way or the other during Biden. And then there was supposedly 11 million here before Obama got in office. Then you have all the ones that got in during the Obama and Trump terms. So you add that all up, and then people we don't know about gotaways, 25 to 30 at least, and many of whom are so integrated into our economy that if they were all just to vanish, that's another issue. Yet on the other hand, we've got to stop this inflow. And I think the one thing I think the welcome wagon ended. I think he said it was at 1 o'clock, I guess Eastern time. The the in the welcome wagon is over. That you don't just walk up to the border and say, "I want in. I feel threatened where I come from, so we bring you in, give you a welcome package, and turn you loose." That's ended. So the Border Patrol can go back to doing the normal job of patrolling the border, like stationing some people at the gaps in the wall that are there right now. That'd be one thought. Maybe put some barriers up. And I suppose right now, any state like Texas that wants to put up their own barriers, I don't think they're going to take legal action to stop them. So that's an improvement. And so on the other states like probably Arizona under Democrat governor probably won't do anything to stop them. So the federal government will have to do all that. Mexico, New Mexico, and so forth. I mean, California. And looking forward, I suspect in the reconciliation bill, if they get it passed, they will probably put authorities in there that would solidify. He may even have this in executive actions right now, but I think they would put authorities in that would allow him to withhold federal funds to entities, cities, counties, or states that have policies against cooperation with the immigration authorities of the federal government, the so-called sanctuary areas. And I think that's one way to kind of deal with that. I mean, he may just be going on executive orders, but remember what starts tomorrow. He saw like executive orders today. The liberals are going to be filing lawsuits tomorrow. So if not already, they're going to be on the way, and there'll be a lot of court battles. I'm sure the Supreme Court's sitting there going, "Oh no, look what's coming our way." A lot of decisions and appeals to be made. Of course, the big one was the one on the birthright citizenship issue, which has been very controversial in conservative things. I agree with them 100% that the policy makes no sense. That anybody that's just born here under any conditions that they're here as a citizen seems to be completely crazy, particularly because people will literally cross the border to give birth. And otherwise, if they don't make it across the border, then they're not. That's very ridiculous. On the other, I mean, obviously the idea that people are here legally, such as permanent residents and citizens, that their children should be citizens. I think that makes sense. But you have a lot of cases that are quite a bit different than that with illegal immigrants. And that's one, another thing that I think we probably nothing we can do about constitutionally, but the idea that you get credit for having illegal immigrants in your state in order to get more representatives. But I think that one we may be stuck on that. There's some historic reasons. So anyway, it's a great day. It's good to see Trump. He's looking good. Made some good speech there. A little bit. I'm sure it bent the Democrats' ears having to sit there and listen to it, particularly Biden, when his speech is basically about opposing everything he's done in this whole term. Although I do agree he's probably the worst president in history. If he isn't, tell me who it is. I'd take Nixon any day over Biden. Let's put it that way. I'd definitely take. I don't know. Some people think this Buchanan guy back before Lincoln was bad, but he made an unfortunate choice for the Supreme Court or something. But that's a different issue, maybe. At any rate, the Civil War, well, that's a whole different issue, which I don't want to get into here. But I would say the Civil War, I mentioned in the last video about the miscalculations Russia made leading to the Ukraine war. Well, that was a major miscalculation the South made, I think. So anyway, that is going to try to solve the dispute with military action, I think, was probably a blunder of immense proportion for them. And however, it did kind of turn the United States from a confederation of states into a country, the United States, I think. But that also led to federal dominance, of course. Well, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on anything more on this. I'll be posting this, as always, on YouTube and Rumble. And, oh, by the way, the name I was fumbling around was, of course, Marco Rubio, Senator. And I guess there'll be a replacement posted very shortly, too. And of course, the address of my social media accounts are in the description below. So this is all for now.